Welcome to Off Topic but On Point. I'm Odette, and here we embrace the unscripted, the unconventional, and dare I say it, the unexpected. Because sometimes the best breakthroughs happen when you go off topic. Each episode, we dive into business, leadership, and life, exploring the moments that challenge us, shape us, and push us forward. So, whether we're tackling entrepreneurship, collaboration, mindset, or even navigating resistance, one thing's for sure, we'll always bring it back to what matters. So, get ready for candid perspectives, thoughtful insights that will keep you engaged, inspired, and maybe a little bit uncomfortable in the best possible way. As usual, I have with me my beautiful friends, Dr. Janine de Cabo, also known as the Intentionalist, and Pastor Christo Pretorius, the Expander. Let's go.
Welcome back to Off Topic and On Point. This is the place where our script is optional, but the insight that we're giving is very much intentional, and the growth, like I always say, is totally unstoppable. So today's conversation has been one that's been bubbling for a while, and I bet you that I'm not the only one in the room who's feeling it. There is a pull back to real rooms with real people, with having real conversations. And it's not that we are rejecting online. I love online. It's just a return to what roots us and what is important to us. And let's be honest, we've been Zoomed, we've been grouped and screened, and we've been teamed into a kind of social fatigue that has left many of us wondering, where are the rooms that actually move us? Now, I like both, and I have business and money models on both sides of Zoom rooms and in-person rooms, but what makes them stand out from each other? Online, I believe, gives you scale, and I think that in-person will give you the substance, or it gives you the substance. And that's exactly what we're going to be speaking about today. Why in-person networks, but it's no longer a network. Why in-person communities and in-person collective spaces are trending at the moment, and they are literally busy transforming us again as a society, and I'm loving it. So why do leaders need the right room more than ever? And how do you know that you are in one of those rooms? The thing is that something is shifting, and we're seeing more of mastermind, boardrooms, private collectives, retreats, and it's not just for photos. It's literally for formation. It's to come together into a place that moves you just once again. So proximity, I also say, expands your perception. And I've experienced this firsthand. Being in the right room, it stretches how you see yourself. So I want to give it to my room here this morning, and I want to ask some questions. So, Odette, I know that you are running Sustain Her in Adelaide, Australia. So, your Sustain Her gatherings are very much intentional. It's also deep and it's very grounded. So, why do you think women, especially, are gravitating back into in-person circles right now?
I think that people want real. Women want real. I spoke to a client the other day, and part of the conversation was, I see the highlight reel. You see the highlight reel. You don't see the real, which makes us then think that the highlight reel is the reality, but actually no, that makeup, that is quickly aangeplaaster. So we spent most of our lives online. We're constantly connected, yet we still feel isolated. If you think about a modern home, everyone is on a device watching their own thing in silence, together, but completely disconnected. And what makes Sustain Her different and why women are gravitating towards it is because it's a deliberate slowness. It's not networking in the usual sense. It's 100% grounded. It's spacious, and it's a circle where you get to exhale. Sustain Her isn't about speed. It's actually about creating space to breathe. There's a science that sits behind it. When we get together Face to face, our brains release oxytocin. And it's also called the bonding hormone. And that chemical response literally lowers stress, builds trust, and creates a sense of safety. So isolation in business and life is really the worst thing that you can do because it's stressful without adding isolation. And when you add isolation to the mix, you're compounding everything. Another important fact is that when we are alone, we don't always fully know who we are. I don't know who said it, but someone said, you find out who you are in the context of other people. And I can't remember where I heard it, but it's true. Because when you are alone, you convince yourself of things. And there are absolutely times when we need to be alone. There are times that we need to center back to self and center back to God. Yes. But you figure out your purpose in the context of other people because your purpose is never about you. Your purpose is always about the broader impact, about the deeper meaning in life. And that cannot happen by yourself. We were never meant to be in isolation. So if you want to find your purpose, you have to find your people. And oxytocin is the science behind why we feel safer. It adds the calming effect of slowing down and being present. And then it's not just a nice cup of coffee. You're actually rewiring your nervous system away from the constant fight, flight, freeze, or appease, which we spoke about the other day. And you're moving away from your survival response. And also, you find out how your survival response can become your superpower in the right room. You mentioned that we have to be in the right room. It is about the right room. So it's not just a coffee and a conversation. It's for the women who come to my events, it's a nervous system repair. And research in neuroscience has also shown that deep impersonal connection actually activates your prefrontal cortex. And it's the part of your brain that releases empathy, decision making, and creativity. So just being around people makes you smarter and more creative. So if you're feeling a bit stuck, get around some cool people. And these circles don't just feel good. It actually helps women to show up clearer, they show up calmer, and they become more resourceful in their business and in life. So in-person connection switches our brain back for empathy and creativity. If you think about years of hustle culture, there was a time when everyone was hustling. Digital overwhelm, you Zoom here, you Zoom there, you're in back-to-back meetings. And in some organizations, that is still the case. Human beings, all of us, are realizing what we need isn't more information because you can Google anything. And now with ChatGPT, you can just ask your bot and it's going to find it for you. What we need is transformation. Google information, but transformation only happens in the room. So what we're building really is a space where your brain and your body can feel safe and your spirit feels seen and your purpose comes back into focus. That's what Sustainer is. Sustainer is where information ends and transformation begins.
Yo, Odette, that is powerful. I love that if you want to find your purpose, you need to be surrounded by the right people. Similar to what I said, is proximity expands your perception. If you're in that room, then your perception is going to change, your life is going to change. I mean, Jim Rohn has been saying this for years, is that you are the average of the 5 closest people to you in the next 5 years. And we see that. It was actually so fun. I sent Odette a photo of a few years back. We were standing at an event and I was like, little did we know that we're going to be sitting in the same rooms. I mean, I'm not saying we were close, we were not close, but we were not this close. It was just different. It was completely different. Right? It felt like a completely different lifetime, but even then we were in the same room, and today it translates to something completely different. It's really powerful. Proximity expands perception, and to be around the right people is going to help you to get to your purpose. So, Christu, your community is called The Collective, or our community is called The Collective, and it's all about high trust, high challenge, and a space where people, and more than that, CEOs and business owners can feel a sense of belonging. What is it about in person that creates these breakthroughs, not just not that more than what we get in a digital room, but rather when we are sitting with each other in person in a room? You are still muted.
There we go.
That was the
Thank you.
silent room.
Thank you for, yeah, exactly. Thank you for that question, Dr. Janine. Yeah, I'll probably say this. I heard such a profound quote very recently by a great friend of mine, Odette, the beer, that said, you find out who you are in the context of other people. And so now from today, we can quote that quote to you, Odette. I would probably say this, digital is, and online is where people stay connected. If we didn't have digital, we would not be able to be connected with Odette that's in Australia. And so I do think it's a great benefit in the sense that we can stay connected. But it has its limitations. I'm looking at, a 2-year-old son. He phones my parents in Cape Town every now and then, and we speak to them. But it's within 2, 3 minutes and he's disengaged. He's uninterested. He's lost focus. He's busy with what he's busy with, whether he's in the bath or whether he's playing outside or he's watching TV. He says, hello, Oma, hello, Opa. He waves at them, blows them a kiss, and then he's no longer interested. And so we do it for him to stay connected. But real change, I believe, happens within the room. So when you're online, you can see and you can hear what's happening on the other side. But when you're in person, and especially at the collective, when you're in the room, you can hear, you can see, you can feel, you can touch, you can smell. So you have a full experience of what's happening. And then as well, I believe that when you're in a room, you can read the room. You can feel the temperature, you can feel the atmosphere, you can feel, or you can sense what's happening within the room. And that helps me especially how to ask questions, how to direct, where to focus on, where to go, where to push, where to stop, because you have full access to all of the senses that's taking place to make decisions or to collaborate with people. And so for me, there is a purpose for online, but if you want to have the full experience, you need to be in the room. I actually bought you a coffee, Dr. Yanin. I know you like black, so you can take it. There you go.
Exactly. Point proven. Hmm.
That's what I'll say.
And we are not saying, well, I definitely am not saying, and I know you guys also not saying that digital is going anywhere. In fact, it's staying and it's probably going to become more engaging and it's going to become even bigger. But what I'm telling you is don't miss what is happening around you physically. People are gathering back into rooms and it's a post-pandemic, post-performance, post-perfection. I really like what Odette said. It's people are kind of over those things and we're done with shallow, and what people are looking for is the soul. So the most expensive room that you will ever be in is the wrong one. So you say that, Krista, you say that expansion begins with honesty. What do you think makes someone ready for a room like the collective, and what stops them from entering?
Definitely people that are looking to grow. If you're looking to grow, if you're willing to add value, and thirdly is if you are ready to take action. People that want to grow, people that want to add value, people that want to take action, those people are automatically ready and they'll find themselves in those rooms. I've seen this in my life that you find certain people in certain places. It's not by accident. They are there on purpose. And they can't help themselves but to be in those rooms because they want to grow, they want to expand. People that are not ready for those rooms, are people that are happy with where they're at. And I want to say this, there's nothing wrong with that. If you are happy with your status quo, if you're happy with your current, network, your current mindset, your current influence level, it's fine, it's great. However, those that are willing or those that are looking to grow continuously, they will find themselves within those rooms. I want to elaborate on what you said regarding online, because I think the world is going to be more digital. We can already see it. I mean, there's so many things happening. However, my view is it doesn't mean that that's where we need to push because we will be pulled into digital. I'm probably going to buy one of those humanoids in in the next couple of years. I'll probably have one. I'll probably have a self-driving car, but I can promise you, I might be pulled into that, but I'm going to push for in person. I'm going to push more because I realize how sacred that is and the value that it is. It's going to become the commodity. It is going to become the commodity. Online will become, how can I put it nicely? It's I don't want to say common, but it's going to be there. Everybody is doing it. Everybody has a Facebook account today. Well, almost everybody. Everybody has Instagram. Everybody has, all of the platforms. I mean, I've got 12 apps, social media apps on my phone. I use three of them, but it's no longer sacred. I remember years ago when Dr. Janine, when we first heard about what was that audio app?
Mm.
Um,
I'm also trying to
Clubhouse,
remember.
Clubhouse,
Clubhouse,
Clubhouse.
yes.
I mean, I heard this from Gary Vee. This thing is gonna blow up. It's just during COVID, and it was like you wanted to get in, and they had a test program. You had to wait to get the app, and everybody wanted to have the app until it was available for everybody. And now, you know, like we last did we hear about Clubhouse. And so, although the world is moving digital and more AI, more AR and VR and all the different realities, the sacred spaces will be the in-person in the room spaces. And so just once again to reiterate, who's ready for this? People that are willing to grow, people that are ready to add value and want to take action. Those are the people that's ready for those rooms.
I've been saying for a while that community is the currency of the future, and I'm seeing it taking shape so fast at this point in time. So I love what you're saying. Digital is going to pull us, but we have a decision of where we're going to be pushing. And again, Odette, if I look at you, there's such a tenderness in the spaces that you do build. How does an in-person community help women and other people, obviously, not just women, men and women, regulate emotionally and also calibrate spiritually in a way that online, I mean, it just can't duplicate
You're
it.
100% correct, Dr. J. The tenderness is deliberate. Online, everything is fast, it's superficial, it's all on the surface. But in person, people have an opportunity to slow down enough for their nervous systems to regulate. They get to show up in their jeans and tackies if that's what they want to do. If you had a rough morning and you didn't plaster makeup all over your face, nobody cares. We're here to be real. I do take photos, so I do kind of have a disclaimer of like, I'm going to be snapping you, so, don't do weird things. But when we're face to face, our brains are constantly reading micro expressions, tones, body language, and then co-regulation takes place. There's a calming and a safety and a trust that takes place when we're online. You can't regulate over Wi-Fi. It takes eye contact, it takes presence, it takes shared breath, even the rhythm of breathing. Gathering together releases oxytocin and serotonin, and both of those reduces stress and increases connection. That's why I'm all about touch the heart before you do anything else, whether it's customer experience, whether it's in the room with a group of people. We all want to feel like we belong. We want to feel like we're supposed to be here and like somebody cares. It's about the physical shift that takes us from survival mode to a state where we can breathe again and hear ourselves. When you're under stress, your brain goes into the cortex vortex, and that's where you become paralyzed. That cortex vortex is as a result of stress. The way we reduce the stress, the way we step out of that is either go for a walk if you're alone or get around people who care. The minute you're around people who care, your brain goes, now I can breathe. Science has proven that our souls already know what's happening. Have you seen how when you walk into a room, when you know who you are and you are stable and you are secure, you can walk into a room where someone else is spinning their wheels off and you bring calm. Have you noticed that? That's exactly what happens. I needed a space to connect with other people. I am fortunate enough to have gone on a journey because I honored my process. I know who I am, I know why I'm there. So when people walk into the room, the first thing they say is, wow, I feel like I belong here. Because they do. It's a no judgment space. It's all about you're here, you're safe, you can bring all your stuff. Nothing is off the table. We talk about everything. And that's also where the spiritual layer comes in. Because for centuries before COVID, people would gather in circles. If we go right back to before there was anything, people were gathering around campfires. They were gathering around wells. Women gather around the kitchen. And I know there's a joke coming soon, I'm sure. You can say it. It is funny. We do that. We like to cook, some of us. But when we get together in that way, something ancient is restored. It's back to, we always talk about go back to the original manual. How did God create us? He put us together in community, together, not separate. So there's something in the original design that we missed when we went online. And absolutely, I agree with you. Online is important. There's a place for it, but it's removed the rhythm of gathering. It's removed the recalibration. There's something different that happens when we're in person. There's a chemical response that happens in the first 30 seconds when we meet. And you know, and I know, and we know something's happening, and we either connect or we don't. And that's why you can't replicate what we do in person online. Online is convenient. It makes it easy. You don't have to travel. I'm a huge advocate for it. I still do online thing. But in rooms is where we are able to regulate emotionally and recalibrate spiritually and leave grounded. And then, of course, online offers connection, but I believe that in person creates community. Online gives you the information. Google it. Google it, go for your life. But if you want to be transformed, you have to be in the room with the vulnerable people in a safe space where you get to just say it. Because whatever comes to light, we can address.
We were sitting in the leadership boardroom in Johannesburg, and Dr. Mark Manley, he was explaining that when we're in a room with people for an amount of time, I think he said 5 minutes or so, it wasn't a long time, it's literally like our brains are connecting with each other. And we've heard people say, like, yo, you just tapped into my brain, or wow, we're thinking the same thing, that's literally what's happening at that moment. That can't happen over digital. And like I said, I love digital. I really do. Like, I use it for so many things. But what we are trying to say today is there's something different that we are missing out on. And we've realized that. We've realized that post-pandemic, we've missed out on certain things. And what is happening is people are very quickly discovering that again. And that's what's creating this trend. That's what's creating people saying, listen, I need to be in the room. I need to be in that group. Where can I meet you guys? Where are you gathering? That is what's happening. There's so many benefits of being in the room. If we're making it practical, then you need to plug into, and I don't want to just, I think in the past, we defined it as networks. I think today it's more defined as relationships. And we're going to tap into each other's relationships. It's much deeper than networks, because I think in the past, we took a network also as almost being shallow. And it's like, I don't want to do networking. And we had this thing with networking. It's not that. It genuinely feels real, and it's genuine relationships that is making people and businesses push forward, move forward, and transform at the same time. And I think that's the thing. And I want to thank digital for that, because if we didn't have digital and we didn't have the pandemic's things, we wouldn't have gotten to that place. They say that you never really know what you have until you don't have it. It's exactly what happened here. And
Yeah.
people are very quickly realizing what they have. You are literally collapsing time just by sharing the vision in the room. It's like I sit there and I'm like, how did 3 hours just go by like that? Like, what just happened? Um, you expand your own vision when you hear yourself speaking out loud and you introduce yourself in a room and you hear physically yourself what you do and you're like, man, that's not right. Oh, that's too small. So you expand your own vision if you hear yourself talking out loud. You're definitely going to move faster because you're getting feedback, you're being held accountable for the things that you are saying. And you're building a resilience on the inside of you because you're going to show up not for yourself only, you're going to show up for other people in the room. I love what you said, Odette, is you can't regulate over Wi-Fi. And
It's
something
true.
you touched on earlier as well is like, you don't need more information. You need connection. You don't need a bigger audience. You just need a better circle. So, Pastor C, I
And I
think you
just
want to
jump
say
in here.
something. Yeah, go for it.
Thank you. There's two things I wanna touch on that you've mentioned. Let's just go to the latest one you spoke about, about networks and about relationships. In maybe in times gone by, our networks were the people that you knew. How many people do you know? Like that's your influence, the people that you have. But I've realized this because people say your network equals your net worth. And I'm like, okay, I hear that. I think there's truth to it, but I know a lot of rich people. I'm not at their level. So, like, what's wrong? And so I would even take it a step further. Exactly what you're saying about relationship is that your network is who you know, but those relationships and being in the room is the people that you are growing with. I know a lot of people. I've got a lot of people on my phone that I can phone and they will know it's me. But how many of those people will come and sit in a room with me and I sit in a room with them and we can share and discuss and grow together? And I think it's something that somebody challenged me with beginning of this year, where I mentioned to him that I've got a big network. I know a lot of people over the years. We've come to know a lot of people, but it's difficult for me to, use that and get net worth out of that. And he said something that hit me. He said, but all of them are in the friend zone. And when he said that, I knew exactly what he was saying is that you only know people because you know them. There's not a purpose further and beyond that. You're not pushing or testing each other or working with one another. And it really challenged me to say, okay, who are the people I want to work with? Who are the people I want to grow with? And who are the people that it's good to know them and it's good for them to know me? So I definitely believe that relationships, like you said, it's where we need to move, and it's to harness, not to use, but to harness what the people we have in our life have to offer us. Just jumping back to digital, something that we haven't spoken about that I believe is a bigger concern for me, the online, is the fact that people are not their authentic self. That speaks about, you can't regulate online. The problem is that I see is people are not authentic, but they are, what's the right word here? It's easy for them to comment or to criticize somebody online on a post in the comment section. But when you see that person face to face, you will not say the same thing to them. And so what's happening is that it's almost like there's imbalance of who we think we are versus really showing up in the real life. And so I think that gap is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. We have all these, for a lack of a better word, macho people online because I've got a big audience or a big following, or I can say whatever I want to say on people's platforms. But when we face to face, we can't debate, we can't communicate. I mean, and we've seen it, even in recent weeks and months, when you look at any person having a live debate or a live meeting, it's like people struggle to speak to one another. There's no respect, they're not giving each other the opportunity to finish the sentence. They continuously interrupt one another. And for me, I don't want to say 100% want to draw it back to online, but I think a big problem is that we are living in a different world. And we think that the world I live in online, I can use those same principles and practice it in the, well, I want to call it the real world or in the physical world. and it's not the same. How we show up online and how people show up, in person, there is a difference. I can tell, ChatGPT exactly what I think of him if he's not answering my questions, but I will not speak to somebody face to face like that. And I realize even for myself, like, hey, like, who are you when nobody's watching? Who are you online? And so I think that is a big problem that we have, and hence the reason to have these rooms, to have in-person meetings, that we can communicate with one another, that we know how to talk to one another, know how to have a conversation. Just go to any restaurant, and you would probably see the people sitting in those restaurants are on their phones while they're
It's
having
terrible.
dinner. It is hurtful. It is hurtful to see that, because I think, yeah, there's so many bad habits that we need to be aware of. And so once again, I want to say this: use it for connection. Like Odette said, use it for convenience. It's absolutely, it's going to save you time. It's going to help you in so many areas, but do not replace it with the irreplaceable, which is the quality time. It's the face to face. It's that substance moments that we so need within our life.
Mm. That's so true. And I think there's literally a room for every person. Krista, while still talking, what is one breakthrough that you've personally experienced by being in the right room? How's it shifted maybe your life or your business in a way?
But definitely to be mindset. That's my biggest breakthrough that I've seen. I've been privileged over the years, especially when I was, working for the church. Whenever there was guest speakers, I had the privilege to host them. Pick them up at the airport, pick them up for take them for dinner. Be in the lounge before and after the service. And my mindset was shifted in those rooms, because you have access to what these people carry, the wisdom they have, the experience they have in my field and in that area was incredible to increase or to build and sustain your mindset. And I'm very thankful towards Apostle Nikki for the opportunity, to be in those rooms. And I mean, there were times that he invited me with into meetings that he went into. And so I would definitely say the biggest breakthrough that I've seen is in mindset and in mind shift. Because when you sit with people that, like the Bible says, iron sharpens iron, and so the countenance of one another. That has been probably the biggest thing for me is to really see those shifts. And then secondly, it would be the opportunities then that I had to ask questions. The opportunities that I had to ask questions, because now you realize that I can't just come in here and speak about the weather. There are people of substance that carry something, and they're only here for a short period of time. And I can either ask them a question that's going to help me with my future, my destiny, or we can talk about the weather, we can talk about sport, we can talk about family. And I mean, those things have their place and have their time. But secondly, I would say rooms have given me the opportunity to ask questions. And I believe that questions holds the answers to your future. And so maybe thirdly, the third thing that I've seen and that I've realized with rooms, I'll probably use the story where there was this young lawyer, and he was just getting out, starting his practice, and he had the opportunity to have dinner with a very experienced lawyer within the city that he was. He actually wanted some cases. That was what he wanted. He wanted to get some cases, and he was actually phoning this lawyer and said, "Listen, you surely have, some mediocre cases that you can just give me." And this very, very wealthy and well-established lawyer said to him, "Let's go have something to eat." And they went out together, and they just, the whole night or the whole afternoon, they were just talking about life and about things. And this young lawyer, he tells the story. He was so upset when he left. And he said, "Man, this guy could have just given me like 4 or 5 cases. That means nothing to him. Yet he only took me for dinner." And he said the next day, the next week, the next month, he says something ridiculous happened. His phone started ringing like crazy. People wanted to bring him cases and wanted to work with him. And when he asked the question to the people that phoned him, he says, like, "Why are you phoning me?" They said, "No, we saw you in that restaurant having lunch or dinner, with this incredible lawyer. And we thought, if you are working with him, then we want to work with you. And I think that, proximity that you spoke about, um, absolutely has value. It's the people that you are with. People see that. People take notice. And make sure it's real. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to take a photo with somebody these days and post it on social media. It's like, hey, okay, I'm with this great guy, but yeah, fair enough. You walk past the airport together. You're not really spending time with him and, really have moments of substance. But I do believe that, there's power in the people that you connect with. Absolutely.
It's so powerful. Odette, what has rooms done for you, or the right rooms?
I love your self-correction, Dr. J, the right rooms, because, you know, rooms can just be rooms. I think for me, the biggest realization most recently is that I don't have to do it alone. I have an insane drive and I don't mind adding to my plate. Exactly what Pastor C says. Iron sharpens iron. Being surrounded by the right people has challenged me in ways that I wouldn't have challenged myself. And I think it's important that we point out which type of room. So there is a room where you go to challenge how good of a spouse you are. There is a room where you go where you challenge how fit you are. There is a room where you challenge how you show up in business. And each one of those rooms has different people who are each excelling in different things. And for a long time, I didn't find rooms when we just moved here because I was isolating myself. I was doing exactly what I tell people not to do because I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to figure myself out, and I needed to, just give myself some space. But when I got over that and I gave myself grace to just be, I was able to walk into rooms and identify that this was not my room. That's how Sustainer happened. I walked into rooms and realized these are not my people. This is not my room. Okay. So what do? Do I create my own or do I find another? So I eventually created my own. But the right room doesn't just grow your business, it grows you. I have changed as a result of the rooms that I am in. The rooms that I've created have changed me, and the people in those rooms have shifted the way I think. To Pastor C's point, it's clarity, it's courage, giving myself permission to think bigger. This room has changed me in how I show up. Iron sharpens iron, and you guys have a different perspective on different things, and it gives me an opportunity to go, hold on, am I falling short here? Now I need to pick up on this thing. I think it's for us to remember that the right people will call out the version of you that you've been hiding. A part of us do hide. We hide our successes. We hide our failures. We hide all these things. And in the right room, you are able to bring to light the shortcomings, but also go, I see your shortcomings and I raise you your strengths. Now step into that, which I think is so powerful. In my business and in Sustain Her, it's been about confidence and community. It's funny because I would characterize myself as not a people person. I'm not the social butterfly. So I'm not the person at the networking events working the room. That's not me. I build deep personal connections. And yet, when people come to Sustain Her, they'll be like, wow, you've created a community where people want to come. That's interesting because I don't people too often, but it's different because it's a community and it's a bunch of people that I deeply care about versus Pastor C, what you said earlier, going to a networking event where you're just like, hey, here's my business card. It's raining business cards. So for me, it's been really about understanding that community.
So it's writing business cards. That's so true. Yeah.
And then
You always
and then
went with a
if you
pack of
contact them, you
business
feel so
cards,
awkward.
like,
It's almost like, oh, I don't know if I should contact them. That's not how I roll, which is why I don't fit into the conventional.
That's why I never liked networking, because it didn't feel right. It felt
that's
so
true.
fake. It felt like, I
Yes,
don't know. It felt like you were pimping
exactly.
yourself out, to be very
Yeah.
honest. Like that's how it
Yes,
felt. Like, and I love that you said it so well. It's raining business cards, where if you just stick around, you're gonna get to know that person. It's like we always have that joke. If you're really close to somebody, you get to your house and your phone connects to the
Yes.
Wi-Fi.
Yes.
You know, if you're close enough with that person, you will have his contact number and you will be able to have a
Mm.
conversation, business, personal, and it will translate into so many other things. And that's the difference when we're speaking about rooms and connections today versus in the past. That is the difference. People are sticking around. They are it's like they're taking hands and they're like, man, we're gonna I will never forget that feeling when I walked into the room or my room and I was like just sitting there listening and I'm like, oh, these people are going through the same things that I am going through. They're struggling with the same things. I walked out of there like I had so many solutions, but I didn't have to have any solution. Just the mere fact that I'm
Mm.
not alone and that I belong in this circle made a tremendous difference in my life. I was like, I just want to go back so I don't have to feel
Yes.
alone. And then I write all the things down and I've got all these solutions. And it's amazing. We said earlier when our brains tap into each other, when great minds think alike, we have that saying, when great minds things alike, what happens and what transpires because of those things. Odette, how would you say do you start looking for a room? I mean, we can speak about our rooms. We've got Leadership Boardroom, we've got the Collective, and we've got Sustainer. And I'll put that in the show notes. I'll put the links in there for you to start there. But my question is, how do you really start? How do you do this?
Oh, look, I'm a little bit of a judgy, ne? Very much so. So, who's in the room? Am I going to have coffee with you? Will I invite you around to my family? Those are my general business rules. If I can't sit and have a coffee with you, if I can't introduce you to my family, I probably shouldn't be around you. That's the reality. Because it's not about, for me, it's not about business. Money is a result of solving a problem really well. The better you solve the problem, the more money you make. So the money will come. Money is not the thing. I don't care how much money you have. What I care about is whether or not I can introduce you to my husband and my kids and not be so embarrassed that I go, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't want to do that. And I must tell you, I also first want to get to know you. I look for values before I look for anything else. How do you treat the waiter? How do you treat the person that can't do anything with you or for you, who can't benefit you? And the context. Because you may be brilliant in business, but when you meet someone else who's maybe not brilliant in business and you just are dismissive, I'm like, no. Because the values of the people in the room will determine who you become. Money comes as a result of solving a problem in a way that your customers feel seen, valued, and understood. That's when the money comes, not when you're around this person because he now has money and he knows lots of people. So, long answer to, I guess, a short question.
That's a good answer. Pastor C, a quick roundup for us.
CV. The English just says who. You know, I've come recently to this conclusion that, yeah, says who. You know, we've taken things, concepts, ideologies as law without maybe even testing it. You know, things like, you know, we spoke about the networking and the business card throwing and all of those type of things, because I'm also not a people person in that regard. I'm not the loudest guy in the room. Yeah, you see, I did. Just the way that you reacted was the way I reacted when you said I'm not a people person. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Because here's the thing, and I heard this from Vusi. Yeah, Vusi told me this the other day. Um, if you know me, then you'll know what I mean, mean by that. And he said this. He said he did martial arts, and he says in martial arts, there was this rule or this mindset is whenever you are in a room, don't be alarmed by the loudest person. Be aware of the guy that is silent, because that's probably the guy that you got to be afraid of. Because the guy that's shouting and telling you how he's going to hit you and how he's going to beat you up and all of those type of things are probably not the guy that is the most dangerous. It's the guy that's just quiet and silent in the back because he actually has what it takes. And when he said that, it reminded me of even when it comes to business networking or whatever they call networking, is that it's the guy that sells himself the whole time is maybe not really the guy that you want to work with, but it is the person that can assess and that can come with precision and have those deep, meaningful relationships with you because there's value that we are seeking. And so if we are those type of people, or if you are those type of a person, says who? Who says that the loudest one is the networker? Who says the loudest one is the people person? Is the people person not the one that cares for the person, cares for the individual? And so I'm not a people person because of the amount of people I have in my life. I'm a people person because of the depth of relationships I have with people within my life. And so one thing. The second thing is says who. I've only come to realize this the last 2 weeks, is that saying of if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I've always believed that until 2 weeks ago. Now I'm like, wait a minute. I want to ask the person that is the smartest person in my room, before you leave my room, can you elevate the room? Can you impart and impact us before you leave? And I was thinking about this. Look how selfish this might be. I'm the smartest person. I'm going to leave the room. What about the people that are there? Who's going to help them? They're never going to become as smart as we become. And so I completely agree with the concept that you got to find these rooms that's going to stretch you and that's going to push you. But I want to maybe ask myself this, is that before I leave a room, that I leave the room better? Like before I leave my house, is the bed made up? Is the kitchen clean? That I leave the room better. And so that'll be my final thought to close this off, is that whatever room you're in and whatever room you're going to, ask yourself the question, did I leave my previous room better? And am I ready to learn and to grow in the room that I'm entering in?
I agree with you. Legacy doesn't happen in isolation. It happens around tables, in inner circles, in moments where somebody looks at you and says that I see you, I see the potential in you, and I'm going to help you to develop that. I'm going to pull that out from you. So if you're listening, then I want you to have a look at this and ask yourself this question. Who is in the room with me currently? Not physically, currently. Like, in what rooms do you sit? And then ask yourself, who do I need to be? Or where do I need to be? What rooms do I need to enter? That's going to stretch you into your next, spiritually, mentally, physically. Maybe it's a gym room. Maybe it's professionally. Where do you need to stretch? You can put yourself in various rooms in order to stretch yourself. Like Odette said, you don't need more content. You need more connection. You don't need more tips. You need more truth. And in the right room, that's the place where you're going to get both of those things. So until next time, remember to stay intentional, comment, like, share. Share this podcast with somebody who's also trying to get into a room so that you both can stay in rhythm and get into the room that's going to stretch you.